Boost ignition and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and The Bean universe. Lesbo and The Bean. LATB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and The Bean.
Welcome back. Episode 165. We got an early breakdown, preliminaries only for this pay-per-view. We are going to finish out the year with this card of Alexander Gustafsson versus Jon Jones 2. But we have many profile fights before we get there. Before we get into this breakdown, we know it's going to be a bit earlier than most people. Stick around later for later on in the week when we break down the pay-per-view portion of the card. But before all that,
UFC 232 Las Vegas prelims. Before we get into that, I've been doing swell. I miss fights. It was weird. We were having so many fights. I was kind of getting used to it being my Saturday night.
There was some boxing that went around over the weekend, but even then I couldn't tell you who the main event guys were. That I just saw some highlights. There was also some Brazilian cards. I saw my Fight Pass was a little lit up, but as far as anything of quality, I waited for the Twitter machine to post out the GIFs instead of sitting there and watching the actual cards. I got other late gifts that I gotta go shopping for instead of watching them fights.
Is that time of year, and there's like holiday parties and get-togethers and whatnot. Any news do you want to talk about?
Well, there is a ton of news. I feel like they've been booking fights left and right since we last got on. I feel like there's 4 or 5
noteworthy ones.
Very noteworthy ones, but of course, when push comes to shove, I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Aspen Ladd, Holly Holm.
That's a fun one.
I think that's a really fun fight.
That's an up-and-comer against a stout veteran who doesn't really move position all that much. The other one that I saw that looked like a ton of fun was your boy, Jan Blachowicz versus Thiago Marreta Santos.
That's a good fight.
Hell yeah, that's a good fight.
I tried to think of who I thought would win either fight right away, and I can't have a definitive. I could fight for either one, and I could tell you why either could lose. On both sides of even the Holly Holm Aspen Ladd fight.
Totally agree.
An aggressive fighter brings out a really good Holly Holm.
Especially for a counter striker, but it's a humongous sleep up in competition that Ladd hasn't had yet. She does love to utilize that Banshee Scream though. So against the Kelleher and Holmes herself, this is going to be a symphony we're going to be up for.
That's a really good point. There is a Banshee Screamer versus the Kelleher. Kelleher is so 2016.
Yeah, it's 1 and 2 where Aspen Ladd runs in. That is slated. We might have already touched on it, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's John Lineker versus Corey Sandhagen. Sandhagen being one of those Evolution TJ Dillashaw disciples. That's a fun one, but again, a huge step up in competition for Sandhagen. He hasn't really beat anyone of caliber to Lineker yet, so it's more Lineker punching down for me.
And has it already been settled, or is the TJ Dillashaw Cejudo finally settled on a night on ESPN? Like it's becoming like a fight night card?
Do they have they slated it for a specific card is what you're saying?
I know. I still don't see
either.
On upcoming events coming, I still don't see everything definitive. So I wonder if we're going to get a lot of information. Maybe they're not going to do any of it on Fox. Maybe Fox is not allowing any of the advertising to happen. So maybe they really have to wait until after the transfer is made. I don't know. There's something weird there. There's like a lack of information we're getting about the next year.
I can see that
right close.
Being the turnover as well, as you're saying, like the ESPN is going to have a completely different model than Fox on how it runs its shows and how the way they deal with their information. And this might be just a little taste of what's to come ahead. As far as I know, ESPN has one of the biggest leakers as of late as far as MMA with Brett Okamoto. He's leaked more fights than anybody else. Usually I'm hearing him even above Ariel Helwani at this point.
Ariel's getting all the hate.
Again? For what?
No. I'm just saying. But Brett's doing it.
Yeah, he's finally, or he's the big ESPN leaker. But,
Fight News, something that I saw and I wanted to get your take on it.
Sure.
Did you see the wrestling event where the ref made that guy cut off his dreads or forfeit the match? And I don't know enough about wrestling to make, I don't know if that's allowed, or what's the deal?
As far as I know, when I was wrestling collegiately in the early 2000s, people with hair below any part of their ear had to wear some sort of a control device or have it in a braid potentially even. And even in a braid, I feel like I've seen guys still wear a shower cap is what we call them, but it was way sturdier, of course, and it went on with the headgear over it. Always come off. You'd always see those things come off in the middle of a match, but for religious reasons, I know some guys kept it, and I know that there was even beards aren't allowed in wrestling. You never see a beard, and only for religious exemption did I see high school kids ever get to have a beard, because it's a weapon in there.
And being Rasta is a religion, Rastafarian, right?
Not only that, there's other religions that cause you not to cut your hair. Some of the, I don't want to say Sikh, but somewhere in that Eastern religion and philosophy. With the beard as well, I believe I saw a long-haired, bearded guy wrestling.
So the guy forfeiting his match or having to cut his hair, do you think it was weird?
I think it is weird. I love that Ben Askren came out and talked about it because he's notoriously had an afro forever, even when he was winning championships back in the day, and he had to wear a hairpiece, and he came out and is like, this is a total garbage move. You guys are making it up. It doesn't affect the wrestling at all. It doesn't affect the fight, and we're living in a new day and age, and I agree. I feel like it's a little old onset rules, and people say, I saw the argument that, oh, well, you can grab the hair. Well, if you grab the hair, that's an infraction regardless of how long your hair is. The guy gets a point deducted, and that's just a factor of having long hair. Someone might grab it, but you live with it, and you move on. As far as making them cut it, I didn't like that either. I think we're in a new day. I think it's
weird.
I've wrestled with tons of guys with long hair and even dreads and stuff. Didn't change their double leg takedown or single leg shot whatsoever. Didn't change anything. Honestly, I didn't ever see a difference. And in practice room, coaches don't care. Whatever, dreads is dreads. It's all about single, double leg, high crotch in, checking a little oil if you need to. So.
It was I just thought it was a really...
How do you feel about it since you're a little separated from the sport?
I did not like it at all. I felt like it was totally stepping over the bounds, and if that was my child, I would be pissed.
It was on the young man. He did have the option of forfeiting, but I think...
No, that's the part. Like, are you kidding? No. Like, he shouldn't have to forfeit because of his hair.
Yep.
If there's an apparatus that needs to be worn, that needs to be... If there was some other rule, like, if I'm missing some part of the story, then I might change my opinion. But right now, as I stand, I'm like, you're some ref of high school sports, and you're going to tell my kid what they can, like, please.
I do think that I know wrestling tournaments, there's always a lady around there somewhere, or a young woman who's wrestling. You could have borrowed a cap. Like, you could have borrowed a cap real quick and been like, all right.
Oh my gosh, imagine if they did that to a daughter's hair.
Made her cut it?
Yeah.
Well,
but I just mean the same thing. If that happened right now, would people be, #MeToo, that could never happen? Like, come on, what's good for the goose?
I've seen, like, those double French braids with no caps on for ladies. That's clearly below the ears. I mean, it's going to the shoulders, but it's just, you know how fighters have it. The exact same way.
I think
like, it sticks
I'm all about equality.
Agreed.
Saying.
Back to the fights, though. Back to equality. We got Angela Evans-Smith versus Lauren Murphy. KGB Lee.
Ashley Evans-Smith?
No, sorry. Lauren Murphy's out of a fight.
Okay,
Ashley
I was like, what is going on? That was so many lady names mixed up.
All them Ashleys and Angelas got me twisted. So Lauren Murphy's out of the fight with Angela Lee. Ashley Evans-Smith stepping in for that ESPN Phoenix fight. Just another bout that has been officially signed. That one, not too excited for it, but...
Yeah, no.
The interesting thing, I feel like every time we talk about Angela Lee now, we have to talk about Rachel Ostovich. And Rachel just had her husband.
Why do you have to talk about him?
The domestic abuse ties that they have together.
Oh, Angela Lee was domestically... Oh, yeah, KGB Lee.
KGB Lee. Am I saying the wrong name?
Angela Hill. I'm thinking Angela Hill.
That's a different fighter.
I know. Her name is... What's KGB Lee's first name?
Angela Lee.
Oh, shit. I didn't know her like that.
Andrea Lee.
Oh, okay.
Gosh, that's my fault.
Let's move on from this.
Woo!
We'll talk about it when it gets... That was so many names. People right now
are all sorts of confused.
Yeah.
Well, we cleared it up. Lauren Murphy's out. Angela Evans-Smith in it against Andrea Lee, KGB Lee. Ostovich, though, in the news with her husband making bail. officially just getting assault charges, but there has been released footage of the audio tape and video of her leaving her domicile on said night. Did you happen to catch any of that on the Twitterverse?
No, not at all.
Super scary. I can now see why there was actual murder charges thrown at him, and that's because he said multiple times, I'm going to murder you. I am going to kill you. You're too pretty for your own good. That was literally on the 911 call.
Creepy.
Super creepy.
Creepy.
And then when she was leaving her domicile, it wasn't out the front door. I believe she had to jump out of the window naked, and her actual neighbors filmed her leaving because they could hear the screaming over and over again. Absolutely unacceptable.
Horrifying.
That guy should not be anywhere in the MMA scene ever again. I'm pretty sure he won't be at all. And Ostovich girl, I seen you putting those pictures on the IG. Good, you're getting back to it. Happy to see you got a fight coming along.
Is she gonna go back with him?
Not if she wants to. If she wants a career in the UFC, she can't.
That is some
She
shit
can't.
that I can't get
Same
down
with
with.
Andrea Lee. She can't go back to her husband, right?
That's the shit I can't get down with. That's the shit I can't get down with. Because this is what I hate. Everybody is going to hate on it. But that fight that Ostovich jumped out of her window naked running for her life from wasn't their first fight, everyone.
Right. And
So I just feel like, what kind of day and age are we in? We're all like, you can't put people on a platform. Like, she needs to get some psychiatric help. There's something that needs to happen for her, because otherwise she will choose more and more people like this. She's not going to make good decisions for herself. Like, if you're allowed yourself to be in a relationship like that, I think you need to like reevaluate what's going on. It makes me scared for her. Speaking of people for herself, did you see that Mike Perry put out a little message to her like, let's train together, boo?
I did not see that for Ostovich.
Yeah.
He's back with his girl, though.
No, he left his girl. He was driving. He was actually leaving her house and saying, maybe we're just done. Like, it's the second time we got back together, and, you know, we're just not meant to be. You know, I got love for her.
If you need someone with relationship advice, Mr. Mike Perry is a prime example of that.
But he seems like he would he wouldn't hit her.
I don't know about that.
I don't think he seems like that kind of guy. He seems sweet. But,
Yeah.
like, I mean, sweet in like a...
But he seems like one of those guys that would flip all of a second where you're having a good time and then you're like, hey, waiter, can I have another beer? And he's like, what? That waiter gave you a beer? What? And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, dude, chill out. Like, I could see him just flipping. I mean, he's been in some brawls. That impulse control does tend to go with frontal lobe damage. We have seen it.
I know, and this is a lot of information. Like, poor...
Ostovich.
Yes,
100%.
like this is so much detail.
We
into
did
her
make light
life.
of it a few times over, but now that we've started to see the actual outcome, it was not a light assault grabbing by the arm. She was threatened.
No, I just like to not make
legitimately.
tons of opinion about something until I have some of the info about it. At
Sure.
least, you know, everyone's just hot, you know, it just all, you know, oh, this happened and we're like attempted murder, but she's fighting still in January. Like, what's going on? And then you find out, oh, wow, this guy's a really bad dude, but how long's he been a really bad dude?
That's what she said. Like, this wasn't the first time, guys. Like, don't think so. They do have a child together. That does complicate things. Always. There's always that lifelong tie.
Sad.
It is unfortunate.
I hope everything
for the
gets
fighter.
figured out. I hope everything gets figured out.
Agreed.
And
so,
I want the best for her, and I could give two shits about the dude.
Agreed.
I could give two shits.
His name, I don't even know it. You ain't gonna be throwing it around here. But back to the lighter news, back to the fighting news. We got a breakdown for you guys. We have a pay-per-view on the way out of Vegas. UFC
13-minute mark.
2.
That's our thing
3,
that I
2.
always, if you want to skip the
all of the other
always get
BBS.
to the 13-minute mark.
We'll sneak some little BS in there still. There's still
BS to be had.
There is.
We still got some
social commentary to be had in there, but we are here for what we came for.
UFC 232.
Pay-per-view, just the prelims. We are going to still start from the bottom all the way to the preliminary
If you had to
top.
call this fight something, because like the main event is Gustafsson versus Jon Jones, and a second Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes, what would you call this fight? Like, if you had to name it, title it like a movie, if that was everything. You know how they call like the last Tough House heavy hitters.
He's back. Jon Jones.
This has been the year of he's back.
And that's why. The year ender, he's back. Not Gustafson's back. No one cares about Gustafson. It's all about Jon Jones. Everybody cares about Jon Jones.
I will tell you too, though, I've been watching some Gus fights, and I am impressed. More impressed than, like, I never paid attention to Gus before. Because he was always fighting a star. The
ace has been in there, and a very telling, very, very telling point with Alexander Gustafsson is ask Daniel Cormier if he wants a rematch. Cormier has never really been against rematches other than Alexander Gustafsson. Cormier has openly said, I don't want to rematch that guy.
It looked like a tough fight for him. I rewatched that fight. Yeah. That was unreal.
Hell yeah. So, Gustafsson is definitely a heavy hitter in there.
It was a rough fight for Jon Jones. I was just like, this is a walkthrough fight for Jon Jones. It ain't at all. Definitely a lot closer than the first time around. First time, Jon Jones' odds were minus 900. Now they're at about minus 230 as of right now for Jon Jones. But again, we're going to get there on a later cast. As far as LaTBs real quick, we were going to do them, but then we realized we have another fight card that could be the fight of the year. Yeah.
Which was Alexander Gustafsson,
He could really be back.
Yeah, I think we got a name for.
I thought that was some shit about the second fight of the night. What would you call that fight?
The co-main event?
Yeah.
Cyborg,
versus the Lioness.
I don't think either of them are back. They never really went anywhere. But Cyborg is in jeopardy, falling out of a shopping cart all over the Twitterverse. Did you happen to see that video?
I didn't. I was going to ask you about it. I saw just a still shot of her standing in the shopping cart. Is it? And I heard it's legitimately a really bad fall.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
She totally braced herself, and as soon as she fell, she looked like she was laughing. It was a braced fall. She never splatted on her hip, and I don't believe that Christiana Cyborg has actually come out and said she's injured from it. It's all Max Holloway might have mini heart attacks on the line. It's one of those things
where they are trying to make the lines closer.
Well, it's been a slow week. So whatever bit of footage they get out about fighters.
You're right. We talked a lot about it just like a high schooler
just right
getting
now.
his dread
Exactly.
cut.
Because there's nothing else to talk about other than the prelims.
I thought the most exciting thing of the week was Aspen Ladd versus Holly Holm. In my opinion.
I think Cyborg falling out of the shopping cart was the other one. Not even joking. It was everywhere for a couple days there. So she is fine. Fight still on. Hello.
Oh, shit.
Hey, yo.
Oh, no.
Hey, yo. We got a towel right there. No. Oh, not over the carpet.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, here. Got a towel right here.
This is why you don't have stuff in the studio.
Oh, our couch is getting wet. Woo.
Oh, it just slipped out.
All right. What a way to break off. Or break out. Do we need to watch our wiring, or are we still live?
I think we're good.
Okay. Well, that was an eventful way to start off the preliminaries here at LaTB with Brian Boom Kelleher. Bottle getting all sorts of into it beforehand against Montel Jackson at 135 pounds. Brian Boom Kelleher being 19-9 against the 6-1 Jackson, who actually lost his debut in the UFC coming off the Contender Series to Ricky Simone or Simon, whatever you want to call that.
I like how you just got right back in it. I'm good.
Oh, we're fine. It's just beer here at the LaTB Legion in the cave. It ain't bad. We ain't gonna hurt nothing. Little beer, little man air freshener in the air, little hoppy air freshener. Never hurt nobody. But with Montel Jackson against Ricky Simone really showed that his wrestling isn't up to par. His gas tank isn't there as well. Striking fairly limited, especially once he starts to get into the second round, which Simone, which here at LaTB we've really started to see isn't coming about the way we like to. He's really underperforming, and Brian Boom Kelleher being a constant underdog for us, being 19-9, he came off of a few losses now, but last losing to John Lineker on a very active year, beating Barrow, maybe not so active, only beating Barrow, I guess, in that year, but since we saw him here in Florida, I feel like he was active. Losing only to Marlon Chito Vera as well. Brian Kelleher's career has been fairly top-level fighters, and this is a step down. 7 months ago, brutal knockout in Brazil against Lineker. Kelleher tends to have a good chin. He relies on it a bit more than I like, but his wrestling can really be utilized, and he's done it before in there really, really well. I don't like the damage I've been seeing as of late that he's acquiring, but Boom is a grinding, tough fighter on his feet, does really well. On the ground in wrestling, I think he really overperformed when people think he should underperform. I got Kelleher in a decision, maybe even a finish later on. I don't know if we have DraftKings out for this. I'll check when you give me yours. We do. I got Kelleher decision here. It is the first fight of the night, and I'm going to probably stick with Kelleher in a few spots just because I see him being a favorite here for a lot of good reasons. Who do you have in this fight?
For every reason you said, I like Kelleher as well in this, and at this point, he's the veteran. I like to stay with the veterans. This has been the year of he's back, so it's been a lot of veteran, comebacks, and it's weird to call Boom a veteran, but compared to Montel Jordan, things are how we do it. Montel Jackson, he is, and the caliber of fighters is so much greater. I do think his cardio's good as well. I don't think Montel Jackson's as heavy-handed as John Lineker. I think Boom's going to figure it out by body shots in round 3.
Montel Jackson, 8,400 on DraftKings. For Boom Kelleher, 7,800. You know where I'm going with that one. We usually stay away from these first fights of the night, but we've seen enough from both of these fighters with the Contender Series fight and the underperformance against Simone that I don't feel uncomfortable. Usually I feel like we try to stay away from these because it's like double debut type of fights. We know what we're getting with Kelleher. We got a good idea of what Jackson's bringing out there. He is the guy who can probably grow a little more out of either one of those fighters. Betting wise, the actual favorite is Montel Jackson minus 150 against plus 135 Brian Boom Kelleher. Wow.
That's
what are we
because
missing
of the
here?
knockout last
I agree. People are being overly biased on that,
but
right?
people always are. Boom is an always underdog.
When we make money on them underdogs.
I won't put it everywhere, just in case. This is where I always get nervous and let them sway me off something that I shouldn't, because I'm like, really? Can I put Boom and afford everyone I want to with Boom? Because he's even going to go out there swinging unless he gets sniped, but I feel like John Lineker's next level.
I agree. And people are beating Barao and then losing to Lineker. I don't think you go down in the rankings for Kelleher.
And it was John Lineker at 135. Yeah. So we're seeing like John Lineker settle into the extra 10 pounds.
People don't want to fight John Lineker. Boom was one of the few guys that's like, all right, I'll fight him.
I'll fight anyone to get up there.
Yeah. So
I think everyone's sleeping on Kelleher.
I agree. I think that's going to go to a minus 115 by betting lines. That's going to be a coin flip where right now, if you can get underdog money on Kelleher, I see it being a grinding decision for sure.
I think decision, comfortable, but maybe a third round finish.
Ooh. On to Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Ewell. Both of these fighters have a fight in the UFC. 14-4, Ewell also beat Renan Barao in his debut via split decision 3 months ago. That was in Brazil as well, and Barao has really, after that Kelleher fight, even before that, taken a step back, even with steroids. Just Barao has been in too many battles. Even though Ewell looked good with his wrestling, good with his striking there. I went up like 5 different... Wow.
You are way off. It's
Mine
Curtis Melender. Yeah.
Wow. My phone just skipped. Weird. Curtis Merlender versus Zaire Badhazara.
Somebody's getting fired.
That beer. It must
have
It must have short-circuited me here. Little spill. But we do have Curtis Melender. We'll get back to that fight still later on in the night. Curtis Melender versus Zaire Badhazara at 170 pounds. This is actually a really fun fight. Can see this being a fight of the night, potentially. Badhazara, constant underdog, 3-fight winning streak, 24-6. Heavy-handed Afghani fighter fighting out of Jackson Winklejohn. Beating Rob Wilkinson as of late. Also beating Luna Chagas 8 months ago in a third-round finish was that. Badhazara is one of these fighters that is a fighter's because he is a prince. Like, he literally is set. He's a trust fund baby. He doesn't need any money. He fights because he loves it, and he wants to prove that he is superior. Super heavy-handed. style and technique kind of goes out the door. Petr Yan, good solid wrestler, good takedown defense, but in his wins, it's always his gas tank and heavy hands that gets him through it. Has great head movement. One of the funnest stats I always like to throw out for Petr Yan is at the PI, he's one of the highest, if not the highest, fast twitch muscle response than anyone at the PI.
Huh.
A few years ago, there could be other guys that have beat him by now, but a few years ago, I do know that he held that. Just his reaction time is unreal. And we've seen it happen in second and third round when he knocks these dudes out. He all of a sudden just flourishes in a crazy 3-punch combo that has power on it. And he's one of those dad bod guys. He's not muscular. He looks like he could cut down to 155, but is comfortably sat at 170 for a long time now. Curtis Millender being 16-3, looking good in his debut against Matt Griffin. Definitely and Thiago Santos, 2 veterans in the UFC. Millender has been all sorts of hype, looking good with his striking, getting good takedown defense on the ground though. We haven't really seen much. He's not too much of a submission guy. Really likes to pick people apart with that leg kick. 2 3-piece combinations at range. Power is good, but dare I say he's a little bit of that black explosive, and in that second and third round, we really see Millender slow down. He wins the first 2 rounds, if not the first round, and then peters off, and against the Petr Yan type of fighter who I feel like grows as the fight goes on, I see Millender shrinking, and I have Zaire Petr Yan losing a fight until he wins it, a la Derek Lewis style. I got Petr Yan, decision if not TKO round number 3. Prospect killer, former Afghan killer, Petr Yan. Who do you have for this fight?
I have Petr Yan submission round 3. This is a prospect killer. It's a hype train ender, and I feel like I've watched people, Brandon Thatch. I think I had Brandon Thatch in that fight.
Yeah, 100%. Rob Wilkinson,
it's
same.
Like, Zaire is one of those people that fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. It's like, all right, you got me. I'm on you've ruined enough of my fight nights. I'm going to jump on you. I'm not going to be high on anyone when they're fighting this guy anymore. I totally agree. I think he has a round 3 finish as well. Not the same way you have it. I just do believe Curtis is going to be the stronger guy, so standing and throwing with him is going to be nuts for him to do. And we haven't really seen Curtis on the ground so much. You know what? I haven't seen him on the ground, but I haven't really looked. I'm just going with experience. I won't put this too many places, but I will just because I don't need the extra underdog. But wow, how heavy of another underdog pick is this? Already
2 in a row, and guess what? There's a lot more. I feel like betting wise, this is a night that you can parlay 2-3 of advice we're going to give you here, but I like the money lines. I like we're doing this early so you can still hit those lines while there's advantage, because I see a lot of these closing up to a lot closer. As far as DraftKings wise goes for these 2 gentlemen, it's going to be a fun one as well. You're going to be able to do what you want if you're on the Petr Yan train, with Curtis Millender being 8,800 against 7,400 for Zaire. You know who I'm picking. That's going to be, I'm going to be able to pick whoever I want later on in the night, the way things are going. Betting wines officially as well. Zaire plus 125 against the minus 145 favorite.
Already a parlay if you put those first 2
just
fighters
those 2.
Together.
And we have quite a few more.
And that's the first 2 fights of the night.
So, fun week ahead of us as far as all sorts of stuff to make. Moving on, though, to the 185ers. Am I right? 185-pound division. Uriah Hall versus debuting Bevon Lewis. And it's Bevon, right?
Yep.
Or Bevan.
Bevan or Bevon.
Ooh.
Bevon.
What Bevon sounds a little... I like Bevan. It could be wrong. We could be totally wrong. So
it's the Extraordinary Gentleman.
That's his nickname?
That's his nickname.
Woo, that's a rough one. Bevon Lewis, 27 years old, being 6-0, debuting in the UFC against a longtime veteran in Uriah Hall, winning his Contender Series fight against Alton Cunningham 5 months ago, TKO via clinch strike knees. Definitely a Muay Thai striker in there is Bevon. Again, on the regional scene, he's looked good, but I don't care if it's a shell of Uriah Hall. It's still a UFC caliber fighter against somebody who hasn't fought UFC caliber yet. So even in a declined state with 13-9, Uriah Hall coming off a big losing streak, finally winning one to Jutko then losing again to Paulo Costa TKO 5 months ago. Uriah Hall can get beat by good guys, and we just don't know if Lewis is there yet. He hasn't fought the caliber of guy. We haven't seen him in those later rounds where we have seen Hall pull out that spinning kick, spinning punch in the 3rd and 4th round. We know the way you beat Uriah Hall. Get him to the ground or pressure him heavy, heavy, heavy. Bivon can do that. He has that type of style to pressure Uriah Hall, not let him get a punch off. And Hall's chin is a little bit gone. But I think that Uriah Hall can also weather the storm. As far as Muay Thai striking and having fairly good defense, Uriah Hall has some subpar fight IQ at times in there. But it's because he gets rocked and then just hangs on. But I hate myself for doing this. But I got Uriah Hall in a decision here. I'm going with the 10-year fighter, not the debuter. I'm putting a lot more credit into these guys that lose the Contender Series fight aren't UFC caliber guys. So I got Uriah Hall in a dirty ass split. Don't quote me on that one. I got Hall. Who do you have?
That's weird that you say this is a heavy stay away for me, this fight.
I agree.
Because I think it's low points either way. I had Uriah Hall decision. I'm only changing it to Lewis decision because of what you said. He has a grinding style. And this is a Jackson Wink kind of night. I think this is a Jackson Wink heavy evening to just roll in bones.
Which is the debut Bivon Lewis coming out of
I think they're really
Jackson
smart
Wink.
at watching tape. They know how to prepare their guy for a guy who has a lot of tape like Uriah Hall. So purely I'm going camp here that he's not just some guy off the Contender Series. He's actually some guy from a good camp.
He is getting quality training partners in there. How do you feel though?
Maybe even Jon Jones.
How do you feel about the allegations, though, that have come out with Cerrone talking about, and even Perry saying, there was dudes that paid their $100 and were in there sparring with us, and they were trying to
knock us the fuck out.
Knock us out in there. That's why Mike Perry went back to his girl, because at least he knows that she's got a weak left hook. You have great points. You have great points. Tiger
we
Schulman.
just laughed about domestic abuse.
And I don't think that's okay. And I don't think that's okay. Women should not hit men.
Yeah, either.
It's equality here.
Or just, why would you be with somebody that you want to beat the shit out of? Be nice to each other. Be in love. Love each other.
Totally. But I think
love
you might have.
like a man.
Was that the reason?
That was Def Leppard.
Oh. You might have swayed me. I think I have Bivon Lewis' decision now. Tiger Schulman's hasn't had a good run. Jimmy Rivera's been their highest prospect, and he's not doing too hot. No, there's a couple other Tiger Schulman guys.
It wasn't, was there ever a time that Shevchenko was out of Tiger?
No.
No, okay.
No, it was Tiger Muay Thai out of Thailand.
Just happened to have a tiger in it.
Exactly. Yeah. Tiger Schulman's is specifically a kickboxing alternative MMA.
That's Tigerist.
8,300 for Uriah Hall on DraftKings against Bevan Lewis's 7,900. Again, if you need another low-ending DK player to go in there. And
it's not for a lot of points, though. That grinding style, you're right. They usually don't tend to get a lot of points, but it might be a safe underdog. I don't know if
Lewis is a big grinder. I don't think he is. I think he's more of a Muay Thai stylist out of Jackson.
I'm just trusting the camp. That's all JW. Remember at the beginning of this year, JW.
Oh, I mean, I was a lover nonstop, and I started a switch.
Places.
We started a switch. Yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, you fooled me once. Fooled me once.
And I'm just opposite, like the. That's so funny. Where I'm all, well, I'm just going with the experience. I used to be all, let me pick the new hot. I was a train rider. It's like Nagano burnt me.
Learn to, that fight changed your life.
Yeah, it did. But because of
back.
That's how
he's back.
But that's because of that is why I knew, like, I'm very comfortable with the Max Holloway pick. Very comfortable. This is the year that I realized what a dominant style wrestling is, and I tend to lean towards somebody with any of that.
I agree with that. Here we like to.
You always known it.
Yeah.
I have just realized, just because of that, it's not exciting. Now I get how exciting it is. Like, I get the intricacy a little more.
Definitely. Actually, on the betting
That's all
lines,
LaTB set up. That was just advertising for the LaTB, so make sure you're liking and subscribing. If you don't know what the LaTBs are from last year, there are, like, Oscars or Grammys. of what you get a best of on all your fight shows.
Oh, definitely.
It's
We try
our
to make
best
ours a
of.
little different. We don't try to go on the same old topics, but you do got to have like best KO of the year. That's standard, regardless of where you go. Got to have that.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have the standards.
The couple that everyone expects. And then we have our other fun ones in there. Betting-wise, though, Bevan Lewis being a minus 105 underdog against the minus 115 underdog, or favorite against the minus 115 favorite, Uriah Hall. That's going to be in that same, that's coin flip. That's a coin flip of a fight.
That's how I feel about it. I'm going to stay away from it.
Definitely DraftKings-wise, I agree with that as well. That's a stay away, split decision kind of city. All right, so we finally made it to the 135-pound bout between Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Ewell.
That was
Finally,
good.
profile fight. This is a fun one, not actually the profile fight, but it's one that we're waiting for on the tip of our tongue here at 135 pounds. Both of these fighters are fun prospects. This is the right type of fight at the right time. They both have marquee wins, with Ewell coming in and beating Barão in Brazil with a 14-4 record against Nathaniel Wood's English Titan fighter. He's a Brad Pickett disciple who's really had a good showing out of the Cage Warrior scene. Being 14-3, he last beat Johnny Eduardo via Dar submission 6 months ago, where Eduardo is not an easy guy to finish in there. Eduardo is not a low caliber guy, so both of these guys really looking good in there. I feel like they both grind really well. They both have good striking. The better output is for Nathaniel Wood as far as what we saw in the fights. Ewell, for me, tends to be a little bit more of a counter striker with good takedown defense. Better shots on Ewell, but I think Wood uses his shots to more push you up against the fence and then work down to the ground. On the ground, Wood has a bigger advantage as far as we've seen him throw Darce's triangles, a lot of sneakier shit out there. But Ewell's ground defense has looked up to par. He doesn't have the flashy submissions by any means, but he has a good ground game defense. So this is a coin flip of a fight. This is a fun matchup, marquee matchup. I don't know who I'm picking in this. I feel like the more hype is on Wood, and that has me leaning that way. But the more I look into these guys, especially their last fights, I see Ewell being a live dog here as well. Got another coin flip. I'm going with Wood. I had a finish earlier. I got decision. And the more and more I'm leaning, I can see Ewell by fight time. Gonna have to stick around on Twitter and our Instagram once we get our final bets, because I can see myself switching on a couple of these. This is one of those. I got Wood decision right now. Who do you have for this fight?
I have Wood finish. It's funny because when I looked back at both of these fighters, I was wrong about them both. So I don't even have anything to lean on both of who they were fighting and their outcome. I just haven't been as high on Renan Barão as of late, and so beating him doesn't do anything for me.
For sure.
Yeah, as much as when Nathaniel Wood came out, he looked hungry, powerful, just tons of forward momentum, sharp shots, heavy-handed, tons of power. He excites me more, and I understand the hype. I want to stay away from the hype all night tonight, but I feel like I can't here, and I do like everything from Ewell, as like you're saying.
He's a counter striker, which is one of those things that you were saying earlier with Home Lad. It's like Ewell looks the best when these dudes move forward on him, and Wood does that.
The thing I'm scared of with Wood is all his losses are by submissions. I think Ewell's long and he can submit Wood. That's where that's the only thing I'm scared of. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a cut you by or a win by 1,000 cuts kind of, where Wood can take it by the beginning of round 3, somewhere there. So I'm kind of nervous going in this fight. I agree it's a coin flip, and this is one of those sneaky ones that could be fight of the year.
Right, we have to wait for the lappies. Again, we were going to try to get them early.
That's so crazy to say about these two unknowns as far as, like, unless you're... I think you have to be extra...
Fight.
This isn't even a hardcore fight. This is an extra hardcore.
Yeah, I agree. But also with these guys still being young in their UFC careers, 30 for Ewell, 25, but still just getting their first few fights under them, they're both hungry to fight in there. which always turns it up a notch.
Yeah, Nathaniel seems
Profile
hungrier.
fight.
OL seems like he has more ring IQ. Like it's a brawn
see
versus
that.
brain.
I could see that, but yeah, I can see myself switching 8,200 on DraftKings for Nathaniel Wood against Ewell's 8,000.
Ooh.
That's spot on there. The exact same line as Hall versus freaking Lewis. This is a minus 105 slight underdog for Ewell against minus 115 slight favorite Wood. Exact same line as before. This could be
That's how it
minus
should be.
115.
Slight favorite Wood.
But they're both
Slight
favorites essentially.
favorite, yeah.
They're where you get give me a plus 110 Ewell. Come on, I'll put money on that. I'll switch me right now. If that was plus money, I would have Ewell. That's how freaking close of a fight.
But they see exactly what we see, that
know,
both
that's a
guys could
fun
finish the
fight.
fight, and both, it's going to be such a telling fight for both going forward. And like you were also saying, this is a fun fight with two guys that are, coming up. Even though OL is like a 30-year-old, he still has a few years left in the UFC at this weight class that we're going to see these guys fight again. It could be that kind of fight.
I
don't know.
totally
That's
agree.
a lot to put on
is.
it. But
it's a McGregor Holloway.
Yes, okay. I'm glad I'm
No,
not.
I agree. Championship level, maybe not, but I think top 5, both of these guys, there's that potential.
I'm throwing it out there. Something I'm going to work on for the new year. We need to get a thesaurus for in the studio and look up like synonyms for tough, synonyms for like aggressive, synonyms for all the words we always mock other. We're not trying to be analysts. We're just hanging out talking about fights. But nonetheless, we hate. There's a couple words I've said already talking about these fights that I'm like, I hate when other analysts say that. I'm like, I'm not an analyst.
But it gets thrown into your repertoire
He's
just
tough.
because.
Damn it.
But so yeah. I know what you're saying. So, moving on to the next pugilists at 12.4 stone. No, that's so wrong. I don't know how many stone they are. 155 pounds. We have a legends fight here with Uriah Hall versus returning, coming off of a 5-fight, maybe 6-fight losing streak, BJ Penn. 155 pounds. I feel like this was a fight that was talked about 2 or 3 years ago that would have been an amazing fight that should have happened. And now that BJ's tried to come back and lost to Yair, like, there's no reason Baby J needs to be back in here. We love you, BJ Penn. We know what you're coming out here. Striking is really slowed down a lot. Never had tons of power for BJ Penn. On the ground, a master. Uriah Hall has been out for 2 years. Do you remember even Uriah Hall at 6-1 what he done? Should we refresh you, I guess, there first? Because he's the more stepped away fighter, I feel like. Uriah Hall came off of the UFC Tough House, won it. I can't remember the season. Ended up winning his first fight in the UFC against Artem Lobov. And then he lost to Sal Rogers on the show, won to Lobov, beat Gray Maynard in decision. And then he took a 2-year hiatus because TJ Dillashaw need him on the ground. And he has been having concussion issues ever since.
Are you serious?
We talked about this with the Alpha Male.
I didn't know it was him.
This was him.
I'm so glad you put that together. So he was at Alpha Male, and that's when this happened. They were...
And Uriah Faber said, ask Hall. And Hall eventually went out and talked about, hey, it's true. It was one of those bell things. The buzzer rang, and he was getting up, and he got kneed in the face. And TJ's come out and said, hey, that kind of stuff happens in the ring, and, I wasn't trying to get it. Where everybody else is like, don't even make it close when you're in practice. Why would you even throw that knee at the end of a round in practice? It's practice. It's practice. So Uriah Hall has been having concussion issues. But the 2 years stepped away is great. That's what we want. We usually want a year for these guys. This guy's had 2. And he's been working on his grappling ever since. The reason this was a profile fight back in the day, and even still now, is because we're going to see the evolution of BJJ, where BJ Penn was the old BJJ, the youngest, fastest American black belt ever in 3 years, won all sorts of worlds, but he was using that against the old breed of fighters that only knew 2 counters to the armbar. You're fighting Uriah Hall, who's got one of the nastiest leg submission.
Ryan Hall.
Sorry.
No, because Uriah's tonight too, and there was already on the DraftKings card, and I was looking at it.
Oh, there's so many. But Hall comes in with the new evolved BJJ game, a lot of ankles and stuff to go. So profile fight. I just think it's a fade for Baby J Penn. Regardless, I think Uriah Hall, who's not a good striker, still can beat BJ Penn at this point in his career. So I got Hall winning in a decision, maybe even a finish, just because it's a shell of BJ Penn's self. And I don't like this. This feels like it should be on Bellator even. Or I guess just BJ Penn should be on Bellator. Even though I love you, Baby J. I love you, Baby J.
I've gone back and forth with this fight, actually, because it almost feels like a set-up fight for BJ Penn for me.
To win or lose, though.
To win. I don't think Ryan Hall, he's kind of in the twilight of his career as well. Why would they push Ryan Hall? And it almost feels like they were setting up Ryan Hall in the same way they did Sage Northcutt back then, in the same way they did, like, they thought they were going to do with CM Punk. But they just, I feel like Ryan Hall has zero power in his hands, and he's going to try to submit you. That's perfect for BJ Penn. He doesn't have to worry about getting knocked out. And the knockouts that he's had they're against guys like, he got the Yair head kick, which now we see Yair. Whoa, this kid might be a prodigy of some sort. And then Frankie Edgar when Frankie Edgar was being Frankie Edgar. Like, fast hands, like crazy. So I'm really nervous about this fight. This is the fight I think is the pick'em. I think it's way too favorited Ryan Hall. I don't think everyone should just walk all over like this is a walkaway for Ryan Hall. I think this fight goes to decision regardless of what way it goes, and I've gone back and forth about it a few times. I don't think it's a walkaway for BJ Penn. I've actually changed it since we've been on air and changed it back. I have Hall decision right now just because I like to think this new idea of MMA, but for all intents and purposes, there's no such thing as ring rest here, because you got to think that BJ Penn can dust off his shoulders. And if BJ Penn wins the setup fight, the UFC brings UFC Hawaii to the card that we know is possible now, because Bellator just had a fight in UFC Hawaii. So now we have Raquel Ostovich, we have BJ Penn, we have Max Holloway, we have Yancy Medeiros. Like, all of a sudden we have this fucking huge card with a bunch of megastars. This is a setup fight. They set up him, let him walk off in Hawaii retirement.
Agreed.
It gives me chills talking about it.
CM Punk in Hawaii. Talk about fucking shutting down the house. Earthquake on Hawaii from the fucking fans going crazy.
And it was,
against CM Punk is the perfect opponent for BJ Penn.
I don't know if CM Punk can get to 155. Can he?
BJ Penn's fought at 215.
Oh, yeah. But
BJ
whatever.
Penn will fight anybody.
I'm switching to pin decision right now. I'm thinking this is a setup fight, and I even think Uriah Faber, it says that Ryan Hall's at TriStar. But, yeah, I just think...
And BJ
this is
Penn
a setup fight. Even talking about it gave me chills. Like, he retires in Hawaii next year. As much as none of us want to see him fight anymore, he's fucking fighting. I'm glad it's against fucking Ryan Hall. That's what I have to say, because I don't think there's a chance for a knockout. So I just cannot see BJ Penn getting submitted. I just can't witness it won't enter my brain. So I just don't see it happening.
Biggest favorite of the night, -5.
Who has better cardio than the cardio BJ Penn?
That's back and forth. That's iffy. His cardio has notoriously been bad and good, depending on who he's training with. He is at a Winklejohn, as of what we see.
This is a Winklejohn night. That's my tipping. I'm going Penn decision. Woo! That is crazy.
Ryan Hall, biggest favorite of the night,
Stay away from that.
-525.
Stay away from Ryan Hall.
Against +415, BJ Penn. Almost the biggest favorite on DraftKings, 9,400 on DraftKings.
Do I sound crazy?
Against 8,000.
Do I sound like a crazy person?
I don't think you're absolutely crazy. I think this is a fight that is more advantageous for BJ Penn. The only better fight they could have got him.
I never heard him called Baby J Penn.
That's why he's called BJ. That's BJ.
Oh, I didn't
Baby
know
J.
that. I didn't know that. I just thought his name was like Benjamin James.
Nope. Penn. Baby J. Baby J. BJ Penn as well. For all you fans that are new on board and think that you're interacting with BJ Penn, BJPenn.com. You think that BJPenn.com, because it's got a swoosh next to it, is BJ Penn. It's not. He lost a legal battle for that because they're using his name, but they're using it as the Federal Reserve. It's fake. It's not government oriented.
It's as federal as Federal Express.
Exactly.
It's BJ as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Exactly. So definitely those guys
I thought it was
won
Brazilian
a lot of money.
Jiu-Jitsu Penn.
That's what a lot of people thought. That's what I thought when I was a kid. So that's definitely a fun fight. Mixed reviews on it. It's going to be one to watch. Another one to watch on the prelims is going to be Petr Yan versus Douglas de Andrade. I think it's de Silva de Andrade.
Can I just say, it's good we're breaking this up into two.
This is a huge pre-fight, right?
This is a huge
This
card.
is a huge preliminary because this is another profile fight.
I feel like
This is not a sick ass fight I just said at 135 pounds.
No, and even thinking of Wednesday's show, I feel like we could fill a half hour easy just talking about the two main
events.
the main and co-main. Yeah.
Agreed. So it worked out for us in this little holiday season, getting into the
Ching, ching,
holiday.
ching, ching, ching.
Maybe if you're feeling a little generous, you hit like
You know
and
what
subscribe
makes me
on
laugh
there.
when that Mariah Carey "All I Want for Christmas" song starts? Like you hear the music where it's like ding 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 ding. This is the first thing she sings in that song, which makes me laugh every time.
It's like grandma fell over in the
like
back
the
room.
deepest
Grandma!
Yeah,
You okay?
exactly. No, it's like such a deep sound. Somebody was like, "Oh my God, is Mariah in studio?"
So, back to the 135ers. Petr Yan against De Andrade. I mean, two guys that could be for me in the top 10 easy at 135.
Wow.
Both of these guys have tons of hype. De Andrade 25-2, having some marquee wins. Lost to Rob Font submission a year 5 months ago. Prior to that, losing to Tumenov. Doesn't look so bad. Beating Marlon Vera. You know how we feel about Chito here. And that wasn't an easy fight for him. De Silva might have looked like he was a little on the juice, though. I remember coming back from that fight and being like, oh, that dude outsized Vera by more than most people have. So be sure that De Andrade might pop after the fact. But as far as the fight being
But same could be said about Petr Yan.
He's coming out of Russia. You know how those Russian fighters, Tiger Muay Thai, as we said before.
They got that good science over in Russia.
He's fighting out of that Tiger Muay Thai that we talked about earlier a bit. A lot of Russians and high caliber guys with Roger Huerta, Mike Swick out there putting a lot of quality fighters together. Petr Yan, well-rounded everywhere. Same with De Andrade, except the gas tank, but again in that Vera fight, we really saw that gas tank come into play. Petr Yan being 10-1, all sorts of cardio. He's one of these Makashvili type of guys where he doesn't stop moving forward. No punch really lands on him because he's always moving his head, and he's been doing that for a ton of fights. At 25 years old, I mean, there's nowhere he doesn't look good. Striking-wise, doesn't get hit much. A lot of things alike for both of these fighters. On the ground, I would say because we've seen Andrade get submitted by Font, that Yan can always do that as well. But 10 months layaway for De Andrade as well at 33 years old. I got Yan decision here, but I see this being a coin flip of a fight. I don't know if I can officially go with De Andrade, but I will throw a couple other parlays with him as an underdog. I got Yan, but I think that this is way closer than people have it. If they think Yan's running away with this, I don't see him running away with this. I feel like he wins it, but he's going to have to work for it. It's not going to be a fold.
I agree. I also have Yan decision, but I almost think it's a setup fight that they're going to stay on their feet and punch with each other. Yan, even though he's like kickboxer, Muay Thai style, he has crazy good hands. Crazy crisp strikes like just a traditional boxer. I love that Andrade is so tough here and has such a good chin because it's going to make for that exciting of a fight. But beating Chito, that isn't a walk. That kind of caliber is so much more significant than anything Petr Yan's gone up against. And it makes me curious as if he's going to bring any sort of ground game to the picture to try to stifle. And is it just going to be a stand-up fight? Because he had to bring some kind of knowledge of ground game to go against Chito, I gotta think.
What I think played out in that is Chito started to lose the striking battle because De Andrade has a very Lineker style where he eats a shit ton of strikes just to land to the body and wear you down finally. Where Petr Yan, I've seen put better game plans together. I think the takedown might play a little bit better here. Chito Vera couldn't get Andrade down, but Chito Vera doesn't have the best takedowns. They're still evolving for him where Yan has a good entry. But as you're saying, Silva on the ground, even getting up off of his back, is a little monster. This is a fun fight.
Petr Yan, though, they are setting him up with a lot of strikers. Like, if you look at his past record, they want to build a big striker for Russia, and especially at this division. I'm going to go Yan decision, but I don't think this is a walkthrough at all.
I actually think there's plays here for Silva just flyers.
And he's going to throw so many hands.
Agreed.
He's going to make up he's going to get 50 points.
Yan for 9,300, I don't think I can put on spots because he has to finish the Andrade, and I again see a decision 6,900. Get Silva on there.
You'll be able to put anyone
on top of the other underdogs we have
on this card.
But Yan again minus 275, the almost 3-1 favorite against de Andrade de Silva plus 235. I think he's a way liver dog than that. I think it should be way closer of a line.
I can't believe how big this prelim card is.
Right?
Like that fight we just talked about, I feel like could cap off a prelim fight.
A Fox
card.
night or ESPN night.
Like it's such a good fight, and now we're stepping into like where we're getting into some huge names. Where if you're a newbie casual, you're a casual stepping into hardcore. It's like, wow, the next two fights, still both prelims, and they're all could be co-mains on a Fox.
Definitely people we can see contending for titles. Well, at least the next one.
Future.
At least the next one for sure. At 145 pounds, we have Megan Anderson versus Alpha Cat Zingano herself. 10-3 Alpha Cat's coming off of a win 5 months ago to Marion Renault in a decision. Prior to that, losing to Vieira split decision, having a hiatus, losing to Pena, but really come back. The Muay Thai striker has had legendary fights against Cupcake, many other fighters. We know what we're getting with Alpha Cat. Good jiu-jitsu at 36 years old, but it's really her clinch game and her grittiness with her good output that gets her through. Takedown defense can really start to get limited in the third round for Alpha Cat. As far as the wear and tear, she really does tend to show it as well. But Alpha Cat, you never have to worry about her quitting. She will never quit in there, ever in her life. So she could be losing the entire fight and get a third round armbar, and that's just what she does in there. So always a live underdog. And against Megan Anderson being 7-3, losing her debut fight in the UFC against Holly Holm 6 months ago, the 28-year-old had...
Megan Anderson is an example of a female natural athlete. Somebody who hasn't done any of these sports forever in her life. Right. Stepped in a few years ago, and just by pure build, it's just like she's kind of a prodigy.
6 foot, 145 pounds. I mean, the only other lady in there is Antonia Shevchenko, and she's what, like 5'9"? And she's 125?
Or
like there's no other ladies that are even close to 6 foot.
Yeah,
who's in there? No one. But Megan was fed to the wolves against Holly Holm.
I would say Holly Holm's the second tallest fighter in the UFC. Or GDR.
GDR probably.
5'9".
Yeah.
She's probably 5'9".
Probably. So Megan has been doing a lot of side stuff that we usually don't tend to like here. With all of her Invicta commentary, her moving to Vegas, did she drop out of a fight? Did they scrap one already since the home fight? Or am I wrong on that? Because there's been a lot of ladies as of late.
Wasn't she supposed to fight Katsik?
Did they
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
They might have rebooked it.
Katsikaya? I don't know. But maybe not. Maybe not.
Either way, we know what we're getting. It just mainly a striker. No takedowns for Megan. At 26, she really can really grow
28.
dramatically. Or 28, she can really grow dramatically. She lost a decision, counseled bout to Justino. No, nothing as of late. But she tends to strike in there. No real shots are going to ever come about, so you don't have to worry about that for her. Also, with the... her striking slows down in the second and third round. Alpha Cat, that's where she grows later on in the fight. I was just saying in a clinch game, Alpha Cat tends to win the speed in general along the fence. Cat will wear you down on the ground. Megan hasn't shown a good ground game. Again, if we're going with seniority, they put Megan, I feel like, in the same spot they put her against Holly Holmes. Way too big of a step up. Give her other 45ers. But is there other 45ers in the division?
It's kind of a smart thing because the only person asking for Amanda Nunes is Zingano. The only person they can put up against Chris Cyborg is Megan Anderson. So these women now will both be on the same heel schedule as the co-main event ladies, and both of them, win or loss, step into the next fight with both of the ladies. So it's kind of smart in the UFC's end. And Kat seems like she is such a ride or die that she's like, yeah, I'll fight up. I don't care. As long as I get that next fight with Amanda Nunes, I'll fight whoever the F you want me to fight. That's how I think Kat rolls. She wants that.
But she will do that without actually, and sometimes it'll be a fight she can't win, but I guess she can win most fights. I mean, she is in that top level fighters. Kat Zingano. This is a coin flip on DraftKings, 8,500. Alpha Kat Zingano against Megan Anderson, 7,700. Betting Wise officially, the line has it for Alpha Cat minus 165 against the underdog 145. Megan Anderson, I kind of see the experience, the takedowns eventually. If Alpha Cat, who has good takedowns.
You swayed since last week.
I know, I had Megan earlier too. But the more I look at it, it is Megan doesn't have the best takedown defense. Holly Holm didn't do much in there. Megan has a good whizzer, but against Alpha Cat will roll through on those and reverse you all of a sudden. And I don't think Megan gets up if Alpha Cat gets her down once. So I think there's a 29-28 dirty-ass split. Alpha Cat? No. Ooh, betting-wise, though, I could see Megan. I like Megan as the underdog here, too. This is a close one. This could be a profile ESPN fight.
If you see a finish, who do you see the finish going for?
Megan with the knees?
I think Megan as well, if I see a finish.
Otherwise,
I see a Zingano decision.
That's what I see too.
Grind out DC kind of decision where maybe she gets some elbows in, but other than that, Megan has enough power to hold her, not get too injured on the ground. I think it goes so similar to the Holly Holm Megan Anderson fight. I don't see it too differently. I think this is the weirdest prediction that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Not only did Kat Zingano beat Amanda before, she can beat her again, you guys. The best thing Amanda's done, Ronda, but now everybody looks at Ronda different. And they're like, that's cellophane. That fight, not even hard. I can see right through it. Yeah, we all think that now. But other than that, her hardest fight is against a 125er, a natural 125er. That's the best thing Amanda Nunes done is go to decision with the 125 champion. I think Kat Zingano is hardcore. Even if Megan Anderson says, I don't want to fight Chris Cyborg, Kat Zingano is the kind of bitch that's like, I'll take either of those titles. She's still hungry.
I would agree with that.
And so is Holly. And I'm excited about her getting Amanda Nunes' belt or Holly getting Amanda Nunes' belt. I think both those ladies are still threats at their age, and that's what I'm kind of liking about the women's division.
Well, again, we've said that here multiple times, we haven't seen the cap for women fighters. We don't know if their primes for like men is between 30 and 32, 33. Women, their prime could be 34, 35.
Other thing this is super telling is I believe that Kat has a better ground game than Holly Holm. That being said, if Megan Anderson comes in here and she handles Kat, it shows we're going to see like, whoa, this bitch just learned so much in her fight that we could see an actual prodigy. Like, this is a real athlete. They always say if like a football player comes into the sport, like that's a super athlete compared to like a lot of MMA guys. They're guys that didn't some of them wrestled, and a lot of them didn't. They're mixed martial arts through school, but that's not considered an athletic as far as school, like athletic body. So Megan Anderson could be like, is this what a super athlete does with this sport, where they just take this information and devour it and become that much better in a year, where we're like, holy shit. And it wouldn't be that much better if they were going against men, but against the women's division, because we're still seeing it evolve so quickly, there's still that room that you can grow while you're in the UFC. Where Sage Northcutt, we didn't see a ton of growth from him because but women, it might be a little safer. I don't know.
Totally agree.
Zingano decision. That's how I have it.
A fun one. That one is definitely close. Megan being the underdog there. A little surprising to me. I thought she had more hype than that. That home fight really set her back.
I think people like her personality.
I mean, she's everywhere. She's everywhere since she's come to the States.
She's pretty. She looks like she could be Xena Warrior Princess.
Yeah.
Like she is.
Legitimately, but she doesn't have to stand next to short guys.
Yeah. She could be a ref in the man's heavyweight division. She carries a lot of... She is a very intimidating woman. Like if she were interviewing you...
6 foot? And she wears heels. She
that's
isn't scared of wearing heels.
Hell no. She's pretty, I think.
I think she's really pretty as well.
Which has nothing to do with nothing.
We never talk about looks here at LaTB. You guys know that.
You know how we are.
We finally made it to the final preliminary fight of the night, where we do have the heavyweights.
Speaking of looks, somebody who did go from being like a number one hottie to that nose being fucked up. Andrei Arlovski.
What? And this picture on Tapology isn't even his nose now.
Oh,
his
no,
nose
yeah.
now is like, you could eat soup out of that thing.
I think you could get on an off-ramp on it.
Oh.
It almost looks like you get on the highway.
Unreal. It's like a half one of those slides that turns in the middle.
It looks like a crescent moon.
It is nuts. Andrei Arlovski being the headliner against Walt Harris, 265 pounds.
I also, because speaking of off topic, something I thought of this week, you know how people are like, oh, let's spoon. And it's like the shape of a spoon on another spoon.
Yes.
I thought of something more romantic than spooning. Let's sock. You know how you fold your socks?
Okay.
A little dirty. Let's
A
sock.
little dirty. Yeah, I'd say so.
So, you know how sometimes you get knees all the way up, all the way curled?
All right. I see that. That's definitely for our Patreon
That was
account.
a
That's our
prelim bonus tip.
Definitely just a tip. Back
That
to
was a hashtag just the tip for sure.
Andrei Arlovski, Walt Harris, 265, 11-7. Walt Harris is one of those fool me once, fool me twice. Damn it, Walt Harris, yeah, I was damn fooling me. Against Andrei Arlovski, who's in that boat, coming off a 2-fight losing streak, 27-17. Andrei Arlovski always had a rough chin. As of late, out of that Winklejohn camp, or Jackson Wink camp, Andre can put a game plan together. Even though he's losing these fights, everyone thinks that it's supposed to be a knockout because his chin has been so gone for so long. But when he puts a game plan together, he can win a lot of fights, and he gives trouble to a lot of these guys with a good right hand down the piston and or down the pipe. And he's really just set back on that, using a lot of lateral movement, throwing that right down the middle. And if there's somebody who will fuck up your night, someone who will shit in bed every time, it is Walt Harris. He came in, shit in bed because Spitz was supposed to kick his ass nonstop. We went on Spitz because we're like, damn, Walt Harris sucks ass. Walt Harris has been at American Top Team for a long time.
We picked Daniel Spitz. I think that should be all that needs to be said.
Against Harris, because everyone knows Harris's chin is also, if not more gone, than Andrei Arlovski. Arlovski's eaten a few better shots than Harris as of late. What sucks about Harris is that he has everything in the toolbook. He throws up a wicked left kick that's fast, throws punches down the center, doesn't move his head as much, and he sometimes will blitz you without moving that head, and it takes him one time to get even a little caught, and he's out. Where he's not even like wobbly chicken dance and throws a punch, where he's all of a sudden on his back and they're landing hammer fists. And calm and dirty, I think that nose made a turn on me, and I got a big underdog in Andrei Arlovski. Over Walt Harris, I hate myself too much this night. And this is just the prelims. These are just underdogs, left and right. I got Arlovski. This is a crazy one. Who do you have?
I have Arlovski.
Oh, get out of here.
I think how on earth is Walt Harris the favorite here at
It's
all? I think this fight
unbelievable.
goes so similar to the Junior Albini fight, it's insane. I think he comes out a little frightening the first 2 minutes of the fight, then all the skill, all the experience, all the veteranship, Andrei Arlovski takes over it like he has so many of the other
After the
fights.
first.
And even the last two decisions that he's lost have been against guys that I think we're going to see wear a belt one day at this division.
Agreed.
So
They
Andrei
couldn't knock him out.
Arlovski is everything good here to me, and I think Walt Harris is a big hype in. I can't even understand it, which makes me a little nervous how confident I feel. I have Arlovski decision, and I think tonight's the night where it's all wink or no wink. You know how I've been giving you that the last few?
Interesting.
And I got all wink tonight. I am
You
like,
do.
it's like all Australia, no Australia, all whatever. And a lot of also Tiger Muay Thai tonight. So I'm going to go all wink. I got Andrei Arlovski decision, but I don't think Walt Harris is necessarily UFC caliber as much as he is just a guy
He's a
that
big
is
man.
willing to fight at this weight.
He's a big man. Well, he's a 265er, probably more in that 250 range, but definitely
and
a lacking
Arlovski,
division.
since he's been walking around at the heavyweight division, hasn't been as chinny.
Yep. Well, yeah, he's been a heavyweight for a while now, but he's really changed his game plan up.
Oh, sorry. I thought he was fighting at like the 205ers.
Like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Definitely Walt Harris is the favorite at minus 160 against the underdog plus 140. Andrei Arlovski on DraftKings. Walt Harris 8,600 against 7,600 for Andrei Arlovski. I'm putting Arlovski on spots. I'm putting under all sorts of underdogs like oh, I'm going to be able to put all of the lineups together. We can't give
You're
you
right.
official
it was
lineups
so long
yet.
ago. Like, I'm looking back at some of the fights that he's won. Brennan Schaub.
Yeah, back in the, and Brendan Schaub actually won that fight.
Damn, yeah.
Brendan Schaub, one of the few ones he did legitimately win. So for the preliminaries, that's going to cap it for us. That's a fun one at the end of the night. We have marquee fights on the
People
preliminaries
say
all
Brennan
night.
Schaub could beat Francis Ngannou because Francis
Because
is
the game plan.
ground
Yep,
game.
I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. Totally. But he has to eat a shot or two, which
Another underdog.
might not. But how many underdogs is that? 4, 5, 6?
I don't know. I feel like almost every fight of the night. And can you, just to tell people, make sure you're liking and subscribing for the main card, because the fights that we're going to break down for the main card, Mendez versus Volkanovski, LaTB versus Anderson, Condit Chiesa, Justino Nunes, and then he's back. Jon Jones versus Gustafsson 2.
Cocaine Jones.
So I cannot believe we went over an hour on just the prelims.
On just the prelims.
So we're giving you everything this year. We're giving you everything, but you guys have been really kind, and our audience is, I feel like we're almost doubling in size every month, which
Thank
is
you guys
crazy.
for listening all over the world.
It's been such a year. I don't want to cry out. We'll wait for the LaTBs for that when we're giving out the awards. So thanks for listening, you guys.
Lesbo and The Bean.
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and The Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.